You know, it's the first time in a long time, but I think I can finally say it. It's good to be a Giants fan. Now look, I've been a good boy all year. I was hesitant at first to even say anything about it, to even bring it up. You know, that's what superstition does to you. That's what broken relationships do to you. They ruin your chances of ever trusting in the future. And that's how I felt with this New York Giants team. But finally, thanks to the magnificent coach of the year, Brian, I think it's Daboll, Brian Daboll, he has seen the potential within this team, and he has led it to a fabulous 7-2 record, something that literally nobody, even the craziest of Giants fans, could have imagined. I mean, I'll tell you straight up, my absolute ceiling for us this year was probably like 9 wins, and hope we hit the fucking wild card, because I mean, I didn't have us freaking winning the division, and I certainly didn't have us going 7-2 to start the year out. Now, as we all know, the most fun thing to do as a sports fan, or even just anything in your life, one of the most vindicating things that can happen is you being right about something long before, you know, the whole wave was on it. We all like that sort of hipstery feeling that comes from being on something before, you know, your friends were ever mentioning it, before you were seeing everybody post about it on whatever social media, make YouTube videos about it. It feels good to kind of be one of those, you almost feel like a pioneer. And the reason I bring that up is because I'm pretty sure I've had this Daniel Jones jersey for 2 years. 2 years at the very least. Somewhere going on 3. I've had this much earlier than, and I bought it at a point when most people wouldn't have. I've had this much earlier than most people who may have DJ jerseys may have. I don't know. I can't imagine this performance has made DJ jerseys go up more than, like, I don't know, 10%. The freaking Saquon jerseys are what's selling off the freaking rack. So how did we get here? As I'm sure you can imagine, it was Saquon Barkley. He's been the one to put us in position to win games, and DJ has been the one to bring it home. I wrote down about a notepad worth of stats here that I wanted to share with you today. So we'll start with Saquon because, you know, he's the star of the team, if we're being honest. So we'll start with the team's bread and butter. That's Saquon Barkley, who not only has been lucky enough to stay healthy, but he's also been running behind easily his best offensive line of his career, highlighted by arguably the best tackle, maybe even the best offensive lineman in the league, in Andrew Thomas. With all that, he's managed to get himself 931 yards, which leads the league, on 198 carries, which is second. Him and Derrick Henry are split with those two. 6 touchdowns, which is 7th in the league, and he has tied second for the most plays, going for 20 or more yards, and he has 7 of those. Now, to get away from the numbers, I'll just say it's been incredible to watch Saquon this year. He's been back to his, you know, shiftiness, but not only that, he's been running with strength, and when he really puts his head down and just freaking puts the Jets on, he's been able to prove that. These injuries the past few years have done little to set him back in terms of what he's capable of when he's at his, you know, 100% when he's healthy. And then on the other side of the ball, you have a Giants defense that isn't going to jump out at you when you look at how many passing yards they've allowed, how many rushing yards they've allowed. But there's a few numbers that really paint the picture of why this team has put themselves in the position they're in. First of all, we got 19.2 points per game allowed, which is 9th in the league. And here's the kicker. 32 opponents on third down are converting 32.7% of the time. That's absurd. A 1-in-3 chance to get a third down. How many times does a team have a third down on a scoring drive? At least 2 times, I'd argue, most of the time, unless they have a less than 5-play drive. They're probably going to have at least 2 third downs, and to be able to make that a 1-in-3 flip every time they step on, you know, they get to that point in their drive, that's incredible. I think that's odds that any coach is going to take. Now, on top of that, when it really matters, when their opponents have entered the red zone, they've only been scoring at 38.2% of the time. That is amazing. That's second in the league. I believe the Broncos have like an absurd 25% or 20 some percent allowed. It's crazy. Most, if you look at a regular season, you're going to see a lot of teams fall around that 40 to even 50 mark. So to be low 30s and in the 20s, you got the perfect example of that bend don't break defense, where you might let up yards going into the zone, but once you get in there, you freaking batten down the hatches and you lock up. Another two stats I want to highlight about the defense comes in the fact that they are spending the third least amount of time on the field as of any defense in the league right now. That is incredible. Are you kidding me? To give your defense that much time to rest and recover, that's probably why when it gets down to deep in the trenches, when other teams have been on the field for 8-9 plays, why we still have the freaking lungs and the legs to get through the drive and ultimately keep them out. And then finally, while we haven't been that great in the interception department with only 2 this year, we have been leading the league, at least tied with Seattle, with 10 forced fumbles that we have, I believe, recovered. Now, the coup de grace, the reason I brought you all here today, the reason I'm wearing this big old blocky number 8, Danny Dimes Jones. If you look at raw totals, passing attempts, passing yards, passing touchdowns, you would never imagine that the Giants are doing what they're doing with the quarterback that they have. But when it matters, Daniel Jones has proven himself to be one of the, if not the, most clutch quarterback currently in the NFL. Now, I got a few numbers here to back that up because I know you don't believe me for even a second right now, so we'll get to it. Now, the thing that everybody always jumped down Daniel's throat for in the first few years was his turnover problem. And yeah, I'll admit it, the kid practically had feet for hands that were rubbed up with butter before every game. Who allowed him to go out there like that is beyond me, but the numbers speak for themselves. However, you get to this year, you get to this season, the man has thrown 2 interceptions, tied for least among eligible quarterbacks in the league, and he has fumbled the ball 3 times. And I can tell you from watching the games, it's not those old freaking I'm running and I don't know how to tuck the ball type fumbles. It's cock back arm in the middle of the throwing, and you just get that guy coming up behind you and freaking perfectly knocking it out. About that clutch gene I talked about, leading the league. Well, he was leading all alone. He's tied this week after the Vikings' performance against the Bills, which is that game of the year? Didn't the Vikings just have a crazy game? We've had sidetrack. The NFL has had some of the most absurd games of like any season ever, I'd say. We have had so many games come down to single scores to, even less than a touchdown. We got field goal games going left and right. It's crazy. As an NFL fan, if it wasn't for the fact that the Monday night games and the Thursday night games and the games that everybody used to be able to see for free, if it wasn't for the fact that those were on streaming services, it would be a freaking, I don't even know, an NFL fan's dream, if not for better words. So for some odd reason, the most useful website I found for a large number of advanced and weird stats was the Washington Post. Not ESPN, not NFL, not Football Reference, the frickin' Washington Post. And it led me to this. Currently, Daniel Jones is tied for 7th in the league for completion percentage in close games, which I have to imagine is probably games within a score in the 4th quarter or something like that. He is currently throwing at a 65.3% completion rating in those close games. And on top of that, he is the 5th best completion percentage of any quarterback on 3rd and long situations, which is plays that are 8 or more yards. And that might sound like the most cherry-picked stat in the world, because it is, but it's also incredibly valuable because guess what? When it's 3rd and 8, you're not running the ball. And to be the, 5th best in the league at that, you know how many teams would love that? All of them, because those are the teams that win Super Bowls. Those are the teams that go on to frickin', it's clutch. That's what it is. I think that's about all the Giants propaganda I got for the day. If you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, please let me know down below. We'll have a vibrant and beautiful discussion. We always do. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and give me a like. Please subscribe. It really helps me have the motivation to keep doing this. And if if that's something you want, that's how you can get more of it. But as always, my name is Zachary Taylor. Thank you for your time today.